CTV News at 6 with Joe Perkins.
Some scary moments this morning for seniors in a care home in Courtenay. Just before 9, firefighters received a call after reports of a fire in the Glacier View Lodge's dining area. By the time the firefighters arrived, nearly all of the 100 seniors had been evacuated safely from the building. After closer inspection, it was determined the fire started after a fluorescent light shorted. No one was injured, and the only damage from the fire was from an extinguisher that was deployed.
Well, basically, we've got some positive pressure ventilation set up to discharge the smoke from the building. An electrician has been called to deal with the lighting issues. They'll have to get a remediation company in to clean up the dry chemical extinguisher residue, but other than that, they should be up and running for that particular area here shortly.
Firefighters say staff at the lodge executed a fantastic evacuation. Yesterday was International Women's Day, a time to celebrate women's achievements and raise awareness of work that still needs to be done. A former RCMP officer marked the day by drawing attention to what she calls inequalities within the police force. Krista Carl is a retired RCMP constable in Langford and says she experienced constant harassment throughout her decades-long career on the force. She wanted to share her views on the harassment and abuse of women within Canada's National Police Force before a House of Commons standing committee on the status of women this week. But she was denied the opportunity.
It seems that the government was not ready to hear the shocking truth about the devastating reality of what abuses and harassment women working in the RCMP and their careers. I'm stunned that we would endure such abuses in the workplace and to be muzzled by our own government after finally having the courage to speak up.
What we've called on the government to do is start a process of reconciliation with these women and not drag them through the courts for years and years and years, but to actually meet with them, either through the Department of Justice or the RCMP, and begin to solve and resolve these claims.
Carla says during her time with the RCMP, she was harassed, taunted, the target of sexual innuendos and jokes, as well as sexually assaulted. Eventually, she was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. She says there are several RCMP officers, men and women, who suffer from the same disorder. Carla wants the government to begin a process of reconciliation with everyone affected. Well, at least a few hundred teachers and parents want the provincial government to implement a $10 a day daycare system, and they let the Premier know about it with yellow Post-it notes. The group rallied in Vancouver before walking to the Premier's office to pass on their message. The rally was organized by the Coalition of Childcare Advocates. The coalition is pushing for a publicly funded $10 a day childcare system, but the Premier isn't budging.
Well, $10 a day daycare is $2 billion. So I think, while that might be a thing that some people want, at a time when we're trying to balance our budget and create jobs and attract investment, it's not something that we can afford right now. And it's one of those difficult decisions that governments need to make.
The Premier says keeping taxes low, controlling government spending, and balancing the budget remain her top priorities. Once that's done, she believes there may be some room for changes. An early childhood tax credit for children under the age of 6 was included in the recent budget. It's worth $660 a year and does not take effect until April of 2015. The struggle for freedom in Tibet took over the front steps of the legislature this afternoon.
We need to recognize that we're all the same. There's no us, there's no them. We are the same.
Today is known as Tibetan National Uprising Day, a day to remember the events of March the 10th, 1959. 10 years before that, Tibet was occupied by the Army of the People's Republic of China. On March 10th, 10 years later, the Tibetan people rose up against their oppressors. Thousands of Tibetans were killed, thousands more fled into India.
Canadians need to stand in solidarity with the people of Tibet, that the oppression that's going on is unacceptable, the abuse of human rights, the fact that now 107 people have self-immolated, Tibetan monks and nuns, in protest against Chinese oppression, and that the Chinese authorities are now even jailing family members of people who've made this desperate act of self-immolation in protest against the oppression of Chinese rule in Tibet. It should drive us as Canadians to do more.
Earlier in the day, supporters met at Centennial Square before winding their way to the legislature lawn. Similar rallies were held in cities across the world. Some closure today for the University of Victoria's Student Society. The UVSS was expelled from the Canadian Federation of Students BC wing today. 2 years ago, the UVSS voted overwhelmingly to leave the national wing of the Canadian Federation of Students, thinking it would also take the society out of the provincial wing. But it didn't. Instead of facing a referendum later this month, the BC wing of the Federation of Students opted to expel the UVSS on the basis of unpaid membership fees. The UVSS denies the outstanding fees. A chairperson for the Student Society said the UVSS is glad that its membership issues have finally been resolved. The penny may be gone, but for one West Shore Elementary student, it has not been forgotten. Early this year, we introduced you to Madison Levigood, an 8-year-old who was hit by the fundraising bug. 1 month and a bucket loads of pennies later, Madison's charity efforts are climbing to new heights. Madison Levigood is a climber.
Yeah.
She likes to go up, and that's exactly where she has taken her penny drive. Way up.
I was at home when my dad told me that it was finally at $3,000, and my jaw that just dropped, and I was like, I was very, very shocked when my dad told me we were at $3,000.
We first met Madison and her pennies in January. That's when she told us she lost her grandfather to cancer and showed us how she was collecting pennies for people suffering from the disease.
Well, it's going to making cancer patients more comfortable during treatments.
Her father agreed to help. Expectations were kept low.
No, when I originally phoned VGH for Madison to have a tour, I indicated to them through the school that we thought it would be $50, maybe $100, $200. We never in a million years dreamed that it would get this big.
I'm very surprised, actually. Like, I was only expecting like $50 or $100, but wow, I got proved wrong.
Donation boxes like this one at Boulder Climbing Gym and at Victoria General Hospital are paying off. Madison's most recent donation came from a waitress, $20 to push her total over $3,000.
I can't even begin to explain how proud I am of her. She's been resilient. She hasn't complained. She's done all the rolling with me. She's been absolutely amazing.
If you've ever seen Madison climb, you know the sky's the limit. For Madison, climbing is not hard, neither is collecting.
Not necessarily hard work. It's been work, but not like hard.
Even if it was, Madison could probably handle it with a little help. If you'd like to help, you can. You can reach out to Madison on Twitter at Maddie24601. Well, we can start looking forward to more hours before dark as we spring ahead this weekend for daylight saving time. But before we do that, firefighters are doing everything they can to remind people that now is the best time to check your smoke alarm. And firefighters are going to great lengths to get the message across, including smoking up the fire hall.
Fire department! Victoria Fire Department! Fire department! Hey guys, we got one here!
Firefighters say you should consider your household smoke alarm to be the most important clock that needs to be changed. Before you go to sleep tonight and set the clock an hour forward, firefighters say take the time to check your smoke alarm.
Take a look at your smoke alarm. If it's not working properly, get a hold of your area fire department and we'll come over and help you replace it, look at it. It says on it when the best date is to be every 8 to 10 years, manufacturer specifications. So it's easy. Change it out, change the battery, save your life.
Clocks go forward officially tomorrow morning at 2, meaning many people will lose 1 hour of sleep. But on the positive side, the change means we will gain 1 more hour of sunlight during the evenings in the coming months. We'll have a bit more on the spring forward a little later in the show. Last night, Victoria police officers and their families took to the stands at the Royals game for Officer Appreciation Night in support of Cystic Fibrosis Canada. Police cars were on display at the Save on Foods Memorial Centre, along with mascots. The ceremonial puck drop was done by a police officer's son, Tyrus has cystic fibrosis, but the disease has not kept him down. He is a high-level athlete and goalie for the Midget A Victoria Icehawks, as well as an associate player for the Victoria Cougars Junior B team. Tyrus and his dad are outspoken advocates for cystic fibrosis.
To be tied in with the Royals, are greatly involved in the community. It's something we try to do as well, so it's nice to be a part of it. There's also a bit of a tie-in for our family where there's money being donated towards cystic fibrosis tonight with some of the ticket sales and the Chuck-a-Puck tonight.
I think it's great, just all the support and the donation, it's awesome.
A portion of last night's proceeds will go towards the Victoria chapter of Cystic Fibrosis Canada. Speaking of a hockey game, Stompin' Tom in the house last night. As always, first period, Brandon McGee shorthanded. He'll make it 1-0 Royals. Same Giants power play, though. Kane Franson will pounce on a rebound and beat Coleman Volrath, and that ties the game at 1. To the second now, cue the pretty goal show. First, it's Ben Walker from Logan Nelson. That would put the Royals up 2-1. Then watch this play by Jamie Crooks behind the net, setting up Stephen Hodges for his 26th of the season, 3-1 Royals. Now, 3-2 Royals when the Giants tie it up. The 2-on-1 executed to perfection. Alec Bear's first career WHL goal. Very pretty. That would make it 3-0. However, that crafty Jack Walker makes it for 3 in the third, and that was your winner. The Victoria Royals snap an 11-game losing streak, tying the franchise record with 33 wins on the season. The rematch goes very soon tonight in Vancouver. More hockey, CTV game night at the Big Stick in Duncan. Myra Lawrence and friends on hand to host a shoot-to-win contest. Sadly, this gentleman was probably the most accurate Cowichan shooter of the entire night. It was not a good show for the Capitals. The opposition had no problem finding the net, though. Powell River dealt the Caps a 7-0 loss on home ice. Cowichan got outshot in this one, 44-18. Matt Scarp led the way with 2 goals and an assist.